everyone, it's me again, and I'm here today to answer some commonly asked questions that I get asked a lot. Now, something that you might not know that I use is gouache, one of my favourite mediums of all. People always say to me, what's the difference between watercolour and gouache? There's one fundamental difference. I'm going to explain it to you now. It's only going to be very, very quick. I've got a nice juicy pepper here. I stole it from the kitchen, so I'm going to paint that. Now, we're all in lockdown, we're all in this together at the moment, so most of my work I make outdoors. I'm not allowed to make my work outdoors at the moment, of course. So like you, I'm stuck at home, so I'm finding things in the kitchen, in the garden, in the bathroom that I can use for still lives, that kind of work. So let's just get into it. We're going to start off with some watercolour first of all. I've got some beautiful watercolours here. Just going to squeeze out, what should I get? Let's go for this lemon yellow deep, beautiful watercolour. Squeeze out a little touch of this. In it goes. Now, watercolours, you know, they're the most spontaneous of all the mediums. Beautiful luminosity. I'm going to get a touch of orange here as well. Look at that. Again, gorgeous, gorgeous colours. These are Winsor & Newton professional watercolours. They are the best you can find. I'm very fortunate to be able to use these. But, you know, when we're painting, it's always best to use the best materials you can afford, and these are it. They really are. Okay, so that's the watercolour squeeze out. I'm also going to squeeze out, while I'm here, some of the gouache, and I'll talk to you about the differences between the two. Now, this is I'm going to put the gouache on this side so I don't get confused. Got my glamorous assistant here with the close-up camera. All in lockdown, so it's all shot on iPhones. Okay, touch of the orange. So these are the same colours, the same pigments as well. And the interesting thing is with our paints are that the pigments are always the same. So it doesn't matter if we're using watercolours, acrylics, gouache, oils, the pigments will be the same pigments. It's the binder that makes the big difference. In this case, the binder's the same. It's gum arabic. Okay, so gum arabic is the binder that's used to make watercolours. It's also the binder that's used to make gouache. So they're both water-soluble products. Okay, I'm going to go in with some water just to show you how this works. Get my brush nice and wet. And I'm just going to... This isn't a step-by-step or anything. This is just going to be a very simple sort of quick pretend pepper. So while that's wet, can you see that's wet there? Should be shiny. I'll take some of my watercolour. I'm going to go for some of the yellow. Okay, just watch what happens when I get in there with the yellow. Can you see how that spreads, how that water takes that beautiful colour? Let's get some more of that. Some more for that water. So that spreads really easily. Okay, so that's my first watercolour in there. If I go in with a different one now, and if I go in with let's go in with a touch of the orange, which is here. Again, let's see what happens with the watercolour. Now these two colours will blend together. It's what's called wet in wet. So we're putting one wet colour next to another wet colour, and we get these beautiful effects happening. So this is where watercolours become the most spontaneous of all the mediums, because they kind of paint themselves almost. You know, we get a touch of control, but we don't get too much control. We sort of let the paint do its own thing. Okay, let's just go in with a third colour here. Let's go in with that red, just to see what happens. Just darken up some of those areas. Lovely. Okay, so we're beginning just to build up that sort of pepper shape. Like I say, this isn't a step-by-step how to paint peppers. If you head over to my website, glynmacey.com, there's like over 70 full tutorials if you want to learn how to paint peppers or anything else. Foxes. What else is on there? What else is on there?
Ooh.
Landscapes, seascapes,
snowy scenes,
polar bears. It's all there. Okay, so that you can see how that watercolour's working now. We've got, can you get your little iPhone in here? That's it. And you can see how those colours are bleeding together. Then that's a real characteristic of watercolours. Okay, so if I do the same thing now with the gouache, I'll show you the difference. Okay, even if I start the same way, if I start with that pure water, if I start the exact same way. Now again, this paint is made essentially from the exact same pigments, the exact same binder. So I take my yellow gouache, it doesn't spread in the same way. Can you see that? It's slightly denser. So I need to manipulate the paint a little bit more. It's got a touch of that sort of watercolour element to it, but not anything like as spontaneous or luminous. And I'll explain why that is. And again, if I go in with a touch of my orange, nice juicy orange there. And again, I'm going to come into that sort of area. Again, can you see I get that blending in? Two colours begin to blend, but not to the same level as the watercolour. So we've got more control. Now, gouache has kind of always been used by illustrators historically. So if you think of those most beautiful kind of GWR posters, you know, the railway posters of the 20s and 30s, very often painted in gouache, or poster colour as it would have been called maybe back then. And essentially the biggest difference between these two are the reason that watercolour has that incredible luminosity is because the light coming down goes straight through the film of watercolour. Watercolours are translucent, so the light goes through the watercolour, bounces off the white paper and back into your eye. So that's why watercolours have that incredible luminosity. Gouache, on the other hand, has a white base to it. So it's kind of like, think of it like a watercolour with its very own undercoat. Okay, that's kind of what it's like. So it's stopping the light going through the paint and bouncing off. Instead, it bounces off the paint itself instead of off the paper. So we don't get quite the same luminosity. That's the downfall from gouache, is the fact we don't get that luminosity in quite the same way. But on the upside, what we do get, we get greater control. So it's quite, you know, it's a lot easier. If we want to add sort of detail in here, you know, this paint's still wet, so it's not going to hold very much detail anyway. But if we want detail, hold the detail a lot easier than a watercolour will. And crucially is the fact that we can paint light over dark. So of course with watercolours we're always working from light to dark. We have to start with the lightest colours first because we can't paint light colours over dark colours, can we? Not with watercolours. If I try that, let's just take some, of our red. There's some of our red. Okay, there's the red watercolour. There's our red gouache. Okay. Now, these are both very wet. I need these to be dry. So let's give that a little quick dry off and I'll come straight back. Okay, so I've given that a quick burst of a hairdryer just to speed things up a little bit, and I'll show you what's going to happen. If I take my watercolour, now we know if I put my pale watercolour, say my yellow, if I put my yellow on top of this red, it's not really going to do very much, is it? Because yellow is quite a weak colour anyway, and because it's translucent, of course. So there's my watered down yellow watercolour. Translucent, if I paint that on top of my red, it's quite insipid, doesn't really do a lot. So we don't really want to be painting light colours over dark with watercolours. That's not the way watercolour book of rules work. But conversely, gouache with its own little white undercoat see, that's my wife impressed. It doesn't take a lot to impress her. that's the fundamental difference between watercolour and gouache. So watercolour's translucent, we work light over dark, not much chance to paint light colours over dark colours. Gouache, we can do the complete opposite. We have much more control, we have less luminosity, but much more control. Like you can see that my hairdryer has kind of messed up that and blown it everywhere, but that could be quite interesting. You know, we could play with that. I'm not going to finish this now, obviously. That would be a daft thing to do. We don't want to just see how you paint a, how do you do it? How you paint a pepper. But it's essentially something like that in a Sesame Street kind of way. Sesame Street pepper. So that's how that works. Now, this gouache is interesting because it's the same as watercolours. It means that they're never ever truly permanent. So if this was 200 years old, we could reactivate either of these with just a touch of water. And you know, with that in mind, I keep my gouache. I've been using it for like since I was a student, so like 100 years. I've been using this in ever since I was at college. So I've still got the same box. This is actually in my son's Action Man lunchbox. It is, look, there it is. My son's Action Man lunchbox. I mean, he's 20, but you know, still got his Action Man lunchbox. And there's the paints. And the interesting thing about it, and if these go back miles, what's this? £1.95. Okay, so that shows how long I've been using this paint for. £1.95. You know, I can't even buy a Mars bar for that anymore. But £1.95. Hardly any left, but it's all dried up inside. But sure enough, touch of water. And get the little camera down here. Look at that. So that's paint that's probably, I don't know, 35 years old, 35-year-old dried up gouache, touch of water, and it's kind of like as good as new. Plus I've got colours in here in my little box of tricks in my son's Action Man lunchbox of tricks that they don't make anymore, so you can't even buy them. So I've got all sorts of cool colours in here. And you can, of course, we can do that with gouache or watercolour. Never truly permanent. So hopefully that's helped. That's the difference between watercolours and gouache. Together, they're like a match made in heaven if you use both of them. Fantastic. Okay, during this lockdown, obviously all of the art shops tend to be closed, but we can always go online. So head over to cassart.co.uk. They've got all of the products that I use and a whole lot more.